Hi everyone and welcome to the French Watch Collector. Today on the bench we have a very old chronograph with few issues inside. Actually you will see, and you can see the chronograph is quite dirty. Just try to start and stop the chronograph to see if it's working, and you can see straight away that it doesn't want to stop. The reset function is very hard. Oh yeah, that's not right. You see like the chronograph doesn't come back to zero. Yeah, it's definitely something wrong with this watch. I love the dial, and we see if we can like clean it a bit and restore this watch, give it a second life. You can see behind is quite dirty actually. Just going to remove this horrible bracelet there. I really don't like this style of bracelet, like very 70s, but yeah, we put a proper bracelet at the end. Just remove it right now. Just gonna open, and you can see there is a little groove just under the lug. It's never easy when it's under the lug, but yeah, I would just try to slide my blade underneath, like, and just lift it up. There we go, perfect. And let's see what we have inside. You can see on the case back, quite some rust around, stainless steel. Yeah, Swiss made, okay. And we can see this beautiful movement. I love chronograph. Look at it, like, we see a Jaeger written on it. Quite dirty as well, the movement. So you see what we're gonna do, we're gonna disassemble everything, and you can see the movement is not running there. And I see like the distance between the clutch and the driving wheel from the chronograph is too close. So I'm just gonna open it, and I see as soon as I open the distance a bit, it just starts. So the chronograph just starts, so that's a good news. So the chronograph is running, the watch is running, you can see it's beating. We're just gonna open the front there, just leave, you see the bezel with the crystal on it. Gonna stop the chronograph. You see it's very dirty, like the case, like some rust, some green stuff around the tube there from the crown. Just gonna line the hands. Just gonna use a presto tool there just to remove the hand. Just slide underneath and just lift them. There we go. And I'm just gonna remove now the sub-second hand. So we have the second hand there from the timekeeping, and we have the minute hand from the chronograph. Just using a pair of levers there just to lift up the hands. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take out the caliber from the case, remove these two case screws there, just keeping the caliber inside the case. And we should be able to push. We need first to release the winding stem there. We take it out, and we just push, you see, from the front is coming. Just going to release the dial, and you see like this dial fit screw, you have a flat spot on it. Just need to align on a dial fit, and we can lift up the dial. Dial, actually, I really like the patina on this dial. Very beautiful. And you see the movement on this side is quite clean. Just going to remove the cannon pinion there with a presto tool again. Just removing the power inside the watch by holding the click spring there. The click with, you see, and I'm just gently releasing, you see, the crown between my hands. Releasing the power, and we should have the watch coming to a stop when the power is fully gone. And we see that the balance will slow down and come to a full stop. Beautiful blue steel Breguet hairspring you see there on the balance. And what I like to do first is remove the balance because it's very fragile with this blue hairspring. So I'm just gonna take it out. And you can see there underneath 23 with a sign, with a R sign like this, just under my tweeter there. This is a Valjoux 23 caliber. Very, very famous chronograph caliber that was produced for many, many years. And a very robust and very well-known caliber, actually very like Valjoux, obviously they make great quality. You have Valjoux 22, the Valjoux 23, and other iteration and modification from this chronograph. But yeah, and there is something wrong there on this screw. Like I unscrew it, but it feels weird. Felt weird, yeah. And oh, looks like it's very short. So it means I'm gonna remove the spring now, but that's a bad news. I think the screw is broken, yeah. Oh yeah, you can see inside the plate here, there is a piece of the screw, so we'll have to remove this a bit later on, and obviously find a brand new screw as well. So now I'm gonna carry on disassembling the chronograph mechanism by removing the springs. You see a lot of springs on these Valjoux calibers, and I love these springs as well because they are like not like wire springs, they are like fully like machine springs, you know, like in one piece, like always like different shapes. Yeah, it's, and you imagine like to produce like this caliber is probably from the 50s, I would say. And yeah, they have to machine that by on like obviously vintage machine or by hand, and to do the shape of these springs is quite unbelievable. You see still a bit of power inside the movement there. And what I was saying about this Valjoux 23, yeah, they were produced for many, many years. And yeah, they were used in a lot of watches. And you see, for example, for Jaeger here, for Jaeger LeCoultre, they were not producing at the time the chronograph movement. They were using some of the Jaeger, and you can see some on my channel. They were using Universal Genève, like for example the 285, or this Valjoux 23. And this Valjoux actually they were used like again in a lot of watches, and some very, very nice watches, like for example some Patek Philippe. They use Valjoux 23 caliber at the base, obviously after they were like decorated and modified by Patek, but they used like Valjoux 23 at the base for some of their movement. So it's just to say the quality of these calibers, and obviously Valjoux now is part of ETA, but they were producing like unbelievable chronograph caliber at the time. So again, I'm removing, you see another spring there, which is on a column wheel. So this is a column wheel chronograph mechanism. Again, like it's higher quality chronograph compared to a cam chronograph, especially for the feel when you push on a button. Obviously, it's more difficult to manufacture like this column wheel than a cam. And yeah, it feels greater than a cam operated chronograph. So we almost removed all the parts, and you see there's a column wheel that I was talking about. We almost removed all the parts from the chronograph. Just few spring there. That's for the chronograph center wheel, and this is for the nice jump of the minute end on the chronograph. Just removing the spring there. Just gonna remove like the chronograph driving wheel, and you see I'm using this presso tool there that I need to align. So you have an even number of spokes on this wheel. So you have one side is like a fork, you need to slide underneath, and now I can lift it up and get it out of this extended pivot. Okay, so now basically we are left with a normal caliber that just give time. Like you don't have the complication anymore. You don't have the chronograph parts. So I'm just going to remove this 3/4 plate. You see, it's covering a lot of parts. There is parts as well underneath that we will disassemble later. And we have this small bridge, just keeping a couple of wheels underneath from the train of wheel. We have the escape and the fourth wheel, so the fourth wheel being with the extended pivot there. There we go. Just taking out all the wheel and checking that nothing is broken, nothing is damaged. Looking good so far. We're going to remove now. You see the barrel there. And now we just move to the dial side when we're going to disassemble the keyless work. Quite clean on this side, you see. Just removing this plate where we can see a few wheels underneath. The minute wheel there. And a couple of intermediate wheels that we're going to remove. I managed to grab this wheel. Come on. Just gonna lift it up there. There we go. Just do the same thing on a small one. And you see there on this Valjoux, like actually the keyless work is a bit different, especially on the yoke. So I'm removing now the setting lever spring. And you have the yoke here, which is kept in place with a screw, which is very unusual on this on the watches now. And just like, you see, this is a spring, so yeah, just need to be careful with the tension a bit. There we go. And this is a yoke, you see there. I'm removing the pivot point, which is a screw. There's a shoulder on the screw. And now I'm just taking out the yoke. We leave the spring. Don't need to remove the spring there. We clean it like this. And I'm screwing there the setting lever screw. And the setting lever just fall out. And that's it. We are mostly like disassemble all the parts from the caliber, just the last few parts that we just will take out with the clutch and a sliding pinion there. Just removing the jewels there, and I will peg as well all the jewels. Just to remove any dried up oil or grease. We do that on all the jewels from the watch. And obviously we're going to put back the balance, which is a safe place to keep it during cleaning, because we're going to put all the parts inside the cleaning machine. And you can see there, just placing back the screw. Just checking it's aligned. And then just opening like this spring, just to get the jewel inside. Okay, under the 3/4 bridge, you see we have a crown wheel that I'm disassembling right now. Just removing the 2 screws. And we have the click with the spring, obviously. So we just remove the click now. And the spring, we will just leave it because there is no need to remove it for cleaning. Just gonna disassemble the barrel assembly just to get out, obviously, the main spring, which is a power from the watch. That's the spring that you wind when you rewind a watch, which is manually or automatically. And yeah, just need to take it out. Obviously, we're gonna clean it as well. See if it's in good shape. If we need a new one or if we can reuse this one. It's a long and strong spring. And there we go. Yeah, you see the spring is actually quite in good shape, so probably can reuse it. Just gonna do a slight polish, you see there on a pivot from the train of wheels, of all the wheels of the pivot point, with a bit of E-flex there. Again, just to make sure the parts are as smooth as possible to reduce the friction. And now all the parts are disassembled, so we're gonna put them in baskets, and we will put all of that in a cleaning machine. Okay, so now I'm gonna put the parts in the first step of the cleaning, which is through a cleaning solution. Gonna put the part there, let it rotate for 5 minutes, and the part will be clean. And then we'll put the parts through 2 rinsing solution, and we will finish by drying the parts in a hot chamber, and the parts will be fully clean and ready to go back on the movement. I would just like to use this opportunity to tell you that I have a Patreon page, so if you want to go there and subscribe to my Patreon, it will help to support the channel, and I thank you a lot in advance. If you want to support my channel, it will help me to put better content out there. And as well, if you did not subscribe to the channel, please subscribe to my channel. click on the thumbs up to like the video. If you like the video, it will help the video to get promoted. So yeah, that will help the channel to grow. And again, to put better content out there and to show the passion with other watch lovers. Okay, so you remember it was a broken screw there inside the plate. So I'm going to use this tool there. You see with two spokes there with like small teeth at the end that will grab the screw. And basically what we're going to do now, I'm just making the plate turn around. The screw is fixed inside, it's grabbed between these two spokes there. And basically what we will do, we're going to unscrew the small bits which is left inside. And you can see there, the small bits is just in between the two spokes there, and it's fully gone out of the case, out of the plate. And you see that like the small piece there of the broken screw. So there, that's perfect. We managed to remove the broken screw, so we can carry on with the reassembly now. Next, I'm gonna rewind the mainspring. So for this, I'm gonna use a winder from Valjoux, to rewind mainspring. You see there, I put it on an handle, and I'm just gonna wind it up in this tool. Again, and you see, being in a manual, you have like a small tongue, if you want, at the back that will stop the watch from winding. When it's a manual watch, you will come to a full stop at the end because you have a small hook inside the barrel, and this tongue come and hook the barrel. And now I just need to remove the handle there, which is on the top. Yes, that's it, perfect. And we have a fully wound mainspring inside. So before putting a mainspring, I'm just going to put a bit of grease again to help for the lubrication of the barrel and to reduce the friction. And now I'm just inserting, there we go, the mainspring inside. Just can place back the barrel arbor. Just going to do the same thing on the lid, putting some grease. Special mainspring grease there. And that's it, it's fully closed. Perfect. Just gonna close the barrel there with this tool, this Rotec tool. Just gonna lubricate, you see there, pivot point. So I'm gonna use a medium viscosity oil there to lubricate the barrel arbor. And now I'm just gonna do an epilem treatment on the parts. Again, that will help to retain the oil that I'm gonna put a bit later on. I will dry the parts, and on a pallet fork and escape wheel, just removing again the epilem from the pivot point. And you see me there putting a drop of 90-10 oil, a very thin oil, right in the center of the jewel there, and putting the chaton back on top. Just gonna do the same thing exactly on the other jewel. And I will place back the jewel in the balance wheel. Closing the spring on top there. So you see these springs, like they started, I think, around 1945, these shock springs. So it means that this watch obviously is from later than 1945, 1947. So yeah, it's probably again, like I said, a caliber from the 50s, maybe very, very early 60s, but I guess from the 60s, from the 50s, sorry. That's how you can date as well a watch to know if it's before or after end of the 40s, if you have a shock system from the balance wheel or not. And now I'm just going to check with some hair if the balance is spinning freely, if the hairspring is flat, if the hairspring is fully concentric, and it looks perfect. Beautiful hairspring, like a Breguet blue hairspring there, magnificent with this gold balance wheel. Just gonna reassemble, you remember, like the crown wheel and the click that was underneath this 3/4 plate. And you will see me there using a lot of my automatic oiler with this medium viscosity oil on this chronograph. Because obviously being a chronograph, like on a normal watch, you will have a lot of contact points which are metal against metal, or like you want to lubricate just to make sure like the parts don't wear, and as well to reduce the friction between the parts. But on a chronograph, you have even more parts. Obviously, you will have all the chronograph parts, and it's a lot of springs, a lot of parts that come in contact with each other in a chronograph. So you will see me a lot using my oilers on this watch there. Okay, now the click spring is assembled and lubricated. So we can reassemble the rest of the watch by putting the ball that we just reassembled with a clean mainspring inside. Just gonna put back all the train of wheel. And you see me there aligning all the wheels there. It's like on the jewels underneath. You see there I'm oiling the pivot point. There's a shoulder for the center wheel. Just gonna put like first this small bridge, which is keeping only like again the fourth wheel with this extended pivot and the escape. Yeah, looks like it's aligned in the jewel, in the top jewels now. So what we can do, we can secure that with the screw. Just gonna put the setting lever screw there because there is a shoulder, so we need to go underneath the bridge. You cannot pull it after because of this shoulder. And now we'll try to align this big 3/4 plate. You see there, just gently moving it. Yeah, perfect. Just placing the click underneath. And when it's in position, like we did with the other bridge, we can put the screws. Okay, so now I'm gonna oil like all the pivot points you see there, the top parts, again with my medium viscosity oil there, some 9104. And there I'm putting a lower viscosity because this wheel will turn a bit faster. So we put a different type of oil. We're gonna do exactly the same thing on the dial side, oiling the jewels. Now I'm greasing. You see I'm using this blue grease there because this is a part that will be a lot in tension. So I'm using this blue grease, like a much higher viscosity, obviously on this grease. Putting the clutch there. I'm gonna put back the winding stem on the watch. Just need to align that, like, yeah, here we go. Like, it would be easier to insert the winding stem there. Perfect. Gonna put a setting lever that I need to screw from the other side. You remember with this screw I just put under the 3/4 plate. And when it's in position, gonna put the yoke. And it's quite tricky to put this yoke because you see I need to hold the spring there, put the yoke, keep the spring under tension. I'm just gonna lubricate this pivot point there with my automatic oiler again. And now I can place the screw. The screw, you remember, that has a shoulder, which is actually gonna be the pivot point of the yoke. And now I can release the spring. Perfect. And again, I'm gonna lubricate, put some oil on all the contact point there just to make sure it's nicely lubricated. I'm gonna put the setting lever spring, which is like very strong spring. And you see there is at the end, you will have two little notches. Actually, there is to do the two position on this watch. There is only two position, like the winding. And when you pull on the crown, you will have the time setting. Sometimes you will have three position. For example, if you have a date and you have an intermediate position with a quick set date, obviously on this chronograph, you don't have a date. So there is only two position. And that is spring that will give you this feedback and this tension when you pull on the crown. Okay, so I put the cannon pinion there, which is friction mounted, the minute wheel, and the two intermediate wheel there. And basically we have the keyless work, which is fully done there. We have this blade that come and cover and keep the parts in position. Okay, just checking if everything is working. You see there, when I turn, it's turning. When I push, yeah, everything works perfect. Okay, so now that the keyless works, the dial side is fully assembled, we're gonna put, you see this pallet fork. Again, I'm gonna try to align it on the jewel there. Very tricky to do sometimes with pallet fork. You see with the two jewels, that's why it's called a pallet fork, because it looks like a fork with these two rubies. And we can put the bridge on top. And again, we need to align on the top jewels. And you can see there, gonna make the pallet fork move slightly bit, and yeah, that's it. It's aligned, perfect. I love the perlage as well, the finish. Just where you're gonna put the balance wheel there, this round, this little round that this which is called the perlage. It looks very nice on his caliber. Okay, now I'm just aligning. You see the balance wheel again on the bottom pivot, and when it does, we just rotate it ever so slightly to engage the impulse jewels on the pallet fork. Just gonna drop. You see the cock there on the bridge, and yes, it's starting. Perfect. Can put the screw now just to make sure you stay in position. And that's it. We have a perfectly running calibers that keep time now. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna reassemble now the complication, starting with the column wheel. Again, we said it's a column wheel chronograph, which is like, again, a better quality chronograph if we want. This is the brain of the chronograph that we give when you push the pushers on the side, will make all the part move to start, stop, and reset the chronograph. And this part here, you will see, need to be oiled and greased properly with all these different wheels and spokes on the wheel and the teeth. So I'm putting the spring there. And this screw is always very tricky to put, so I'm just gonna keep it in my tweezers and just screw it while it's in my tweezer, just to make sure it doesn't jump. There we go, now it's engaged. Yeah, perfect. Just put the the spring for the minute jump of the chronograph. Just gonna oil like this intermediate wheel and just place it there on this pivot point, which is a very long pivot point that I just need to lubricate again with some medium viscosity oil there. Perfect. And we are gonna reassemble obviously every time these beautiful springs. Look at the shape of this spring there. Manufactured from one piece of metal, like to give this shape, like, and obviously like the thickness and everything will give the proper tension of the spring. It's quite unbelievable to imagine how they produce these parts. Again, another spring there, you see that come on the column wheel, just to give the tension for the rotation of the column wheel. Just slide there. There we go, perfect. Just gonna put the chronograph wheel, so that's a minute wheel from the chronograph. Just need to put it straight down. And I'm gonna put like the center wheel from the chronograph. So that's a wheel where we'll have the second end, which is attached from the chronograph. And I just need to oil there the pivot point, like this long pivot point that will go through the center wheel. Perfect. And now I can put the chronograph bridge. You see with these 2 joules, with the Jaeger Fab Swiss, so it means manufactured in Swiss, yeah, obviously. And I'm just oiling the cam there. You see this R-shaped cam on the chronograph wheel and a minute wheel from the chronograph. Again, this is a part that will come and get hit. You will see later on by the hammers that I'm gonna install, and that's where you have like that's what make your zero, like your reset point on a chronograph wheel. This is a brake, so when you stop the chronograph, it will come and touch the chronograph wheel to stop it. Actually, it's acting like a brake, like its name said. Just come in contact. Again, we have another spring here for the brake. See the shape, beautiful shape again, going through the parts like a snake, a bit like you see, like with this kind of S shape. And now I'm gonna put the hammer. So that's the part I was talking to you. You see, you have a flat hand, and it will come and hit the cam on the chronograph wheels, and it will reset the cam on the flat side of the cam. And like this, it will reset always at the same point, and that's your zero from the chronograph, which is for the minute and the second. Again, this needs to be properly oiled to have no friction, and the reset point always at the same place. And like all the parts on the chronograph, you need some tension in the part. So for this, you need a spring. And this is a spring for the hammer. Okay, I'm just gonna hammer the spring now. Again, this screw there, perfect. The hammer is armed. Just gonna put now all the operating levers. You see that's when you're gonna push directly, it's directly linked to the pushers. And I will push on the parts. And you have this connecting rod there. You see a tiny hook at the end. So I just need to put it in position. Again, this is a screw that will make the pivot point of these parts. And you see that's the hook I was talking about. It will come and grab the column wheel. And you will see when you push on a lever, it will make the column wheel rotate. And that's why we make all the parts move on the chronograph to, again, start, stop, and reset. And this hook need to be under tension, so that's why we're going to put this beauty, or this one is as a shape, which is the most like complicated shape on the spring. And that was the one with the broken screw as well, so I managed to find a brand new screw. And you see I'm arming the spring there. Perfect. Just placing now the clutch. So that's the part I will make the connection between, if you want, the timekeeping and the chronograph mechanism with the chronograph wheel. You will see we're gonna put it in position now. I'm just putting some oil on this wheel because, again, this one need to rotate freely. And I'm just gonna check if it's rotating freely there by just blowing some air on it. Yep, that looks good. Just gonna lubricate the rotating point there. Perfect. Okay, the clutch is in position. Just gonna secure it now with a screw. And you see, like, this clutch is in contact with the driving wheel from the chronograph. Again, the last part, the last spring from the chronograph, which is coming to give some tension in this clutch. And there we go, it's fully in position there. So let's see if this chronograph movement is working properly. Just gonna push, and you can see there, yeah, it come in contact with the center wheel. The center wheel is turning. Just gonna let it turn, and because you see, like, you have underneath, like at the top there, you have a long teeth underneath the chronograph center wheel, which is gonna disappear now under the bridge. And this is actually to make the minute jump. And we can see there, it will come in contact with this intermediate wheel. And tack, the minute just jump there. Perfect, so the minute jumping as well is working. We don't need to do any adjustment. Just gonna check if the reset function and the hammer. Perfect, it come and hit the wheel and reset the wheel to 0. So that's perfect. Just gonna adjust the height of the running chronograph there. Yes. And you can see there between the wheel and the microscope, the engagement between the wheel need to be around 75% engaged between the teeth. that looks good. And now I'm just going to start the chronograph and see if the engagement is the same. Just going to zoom a little bit. And yeah, it doesn't look too bad actually as well on this side. Maybe just a tiny bit more engagement between the wheel, tiny bit deeper. But it's not bad. And you can see there, under the microscope, the jump of the minute wheel, yeah, is perfect. Okay, so now that the caliber is fully assembled and working, we're just gonna focus on the dial. And what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna do a very light clean. And for this, I use some isopropyl there just to do a very light clean of the dial. I like to keep the patina, but again, just to remove some of the dirt. And you see I make it roll on the surface rather than scratching, because like that it's safer just not to remove any paint. And I'm just gonna dry it. Just gonna do a quick polish as well on the hands. Again, just not to make them perfectly shiny and fully polished, because or else it will not go with the rest of the watch. But you see I'm using my version tool there just to do a quick polish, just to add a tiny bit of a shine on the hands. And obviously we're gonna do the same thing on all the hands. And now that's our hand. You can see with the black loom in the middle. Just gonna do the same thing on a minute hand. And after as well we have like the hands from the chronograph, which are blued, actually blued steel. And I like to do a polish on blue steel because I like when the blue of these hands pop out on the chronograph, shine a bit more. And this is one of the chronograph hands, like the small hand, the minute or the second hand. And you can see that just doing a gentle polish again on the blued hand. And the big chronograph hand, this chronograph second hand. Love the shape as well with this teardrop you see on the other side. Perfect. So we can put now the hour wheel. And we put like the dial spring there. And now we can place the clean dial. Just put it back on the caliber. And obviously we'll have to, you remember we have this screw there that keeps the dial fit in position. So just gonna screw them back. And now we can place the hand. So we're gonna start with the hour hand. I'm just gonna align it to midnight, but there is no date, so it doesn't really matter where you align it, as long as after it's aligned with the minute hand. So I'm just gonna put it in position. I'm gonna press it down. Just gonna do the same thing on the minute hand here. Just gonna align it to midnight. And press it in position. Perfect. The second hand from the time keeping, you can see there it's already running. And now I'm gonna put the second hand from the chronograph. So this one needs to be aligned perfectly to midnight for the 0 point. Again, you remember with the hammer hitting the cam there, always at the same point. So this is a 0 point. And you see me there when I push it, if it moves, I just placing it back, aligning it back on a 0 position to be perfectly aligned. Yeah, that's it. Now I'm pressing it down. Perfect. Just gonna check now the 0 if it's perfect. So we start the chronograph. Just gonna let it run tiny bit. I'm gonna stop it and reset it. And if you reset, you need to be perfectly back to the 12 o'clock position. Yes, perfect. Just gonna do the same thing now on a minute hand. Just gonna remove the hand out of the way just to make sure they're not touching as well. And you see there, beautiful blue hand and shiny blue hand. Just gonna align it to the top position, which is a 0. And again, I'm gonna press it in position, aligning it back if it moves. Perfect. Okay, so gonna check now if it's a minute jump and a reset as well of the minute hand, if it's as good as the one for the second. We should see the jump coming now. Yes, perfect. Okay, so let's check the reset. Gonna stop it first and reset it. Yes, perfectly to 0. Very happy with the setting on the chronograph. So now we're gonna focus on the case. Remember, the case was very dirty, so gonna try to remove like a lot of rust around the case. So with a piece of pegwood there, removing as much rust as I can on the case back, on the bezel, everywhere. Even using a file just to finish to remove the rust, because yeah, it was quite bad there. We're gonna do the same thing on the case back as well. Okay, so now we're gonna put all these parts inside my ultrasonic cleaning machine. And again, if you want to buy this ultrasonic cleaning machine, I have a discount code down in the description. You can click on a link and get a 5% discount on this nice machine, which is perfect for watchmaking. And you will see like the case will be nice and clean after you get out of the ultrasonic machine. I'm just gonna do as well a quick polish on a crystal. So for this I use my polishing machine. And you see there, I will gently polish a crystal just to remove all the scratches that were there, and we keep like this the original crystal. And now I can place back the polished crystal inside. You see the bezel there. Actually on this watch, most of the time it's easy. You can pull it by hand because you can pull the bezel and it will clips in position. There we go. Just gonna remove the winding stem, because for this, if we want to put the caliber back in the case, we just need to remove the winding stem there. So I will just unscrew tiny bit the setting lever screw, pull out the winding stem, and now we should be able to case the watch. And you remember this one go from the front. So I push the dial from the front in position. Just placing the bezel on the front, so like that we can turn it around, dial is protected, and we can finish on the back side. Gonna put, you remember it was 2 case screw there that keeps the caliber nice and safe inside the case, doesn't move anymore. Just take a bigger screwdriver there. You see this beautiful screwdriver set from Morotech, and actually I will put down below in the description the link if you want to go buy these tools. Okay, and just checking now if it's working. Yeah, the start-stop function is working. And let's check the reset. Yeah, perfect. It works with the pusher inside the case, so we can put the case back. And now I'm just gonna align everything and just gonna press it between my fingers and we should close everything. Perfect. Just gonna put a brand new bracelet on this watch. On this beautiful, beautiful piece. I love this vintage chronograph from Jaeger. They're very nice watches from the outside and a caliber inside, like this Valjoux 23. Again, it's a workhorse, and now after a full service, it will work for many, many years. And look at this beauty. Gonna let it run, see if everything is working. Just gonna speed it up a bit. And let's check the reset when we go back to 0. Perfect. Just gonna let it on the winder, even if it's not an automatic watch, just to turn it around for the oil to be fully distributed inside the watch. And I would like to use this opportunity to tell you that I have my own website. You can go there, you can find some story about the channel, some of the vintage watch that I'm selling, and actually this watch will be for sale on my website, so if you want to grab this beautiful piece, and if you want me to service your watch as well, you can contact me on my website. I will be very happy to service some of your vintage or more recent watches. I will put the link down below for my website. And you can see when I put the watch on a time grapher, you can see the amplitude at 260, which is quite nice. Nice amplitude, 265, and a watch which is stabilizing around -5, -4 seconds a day. I can adjust it a bit better to get it closer to 0 or just above 0, but very happy with the result on a time grapher. And here is a finished product, a beautiful watch on my wrist, and I love these vintage watches. I hope you like the restoration, and if you want to grab this piece, it will be on my website with the link down below in the description. So see you next time. Bye bye.